Hi,
Hello.
hi
Hello.
Artemiy.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you? Thank you so much for hosting me.
Thank you for coming. I guess it wasn't a long flight for you to come here, right?
No, it wasn't. It was really nearby.
Great. So, as far as I know, Chartboost's headquarters are based in San Francisco, isn't it?
That's correct. Yes.
Do you, by any way, feel this spirit of being a part of the US company and the company who is originally from San Francisco?
Um, I would say so. Yes. Chartboost. Very privileged because Chartboost is very international, and I think it's the vibe that most of the tech companies from San Francisco are trying to get to achieve. So we were fortunate that we actually managed to do that. Our team is very diverse, and we have this startup sense, but also uh, things that you expect of Silicon Valley. People treat us nicely, and the way that we treat our partners is also very top notch. So yeah, definitely. Hello from San Francisco.
Great, that's amazing to hear, and we are ready to feel the spirit of Silicon Valley and spirit of startup with you. Yielding the stage to you now. Good luck.
All right, thank you so much. And thanks again for having me here. And hello to everyone who's tuning in this beautiful morning. As you already know, my name is Artemi, but please call me Art. I'm going to talk about myself a bit later. And today's topic is going to be into the kitchen of an advertising platform, the ins and outs of UA in 2020. Oh boy, there's going to be a lot of those. And uh, I want to start about talking Chartboost first, just a tiny bit. Maybe you don't have an idea about us, although we are a prominent figure and we've been on the market for the past 9 years. And during this time, we made a great deal of partnership with over 300,000 apps worldwide, via which we can reach over 900 million users monthly, to whom we serve around 200 billion monthly ad requests, which is cool. And knowing my topic, I'm going to talk the deal. And speaking about myself, here's a cute picture of me actually at White Nights in Moscow. Good thing to know that I was working as UA manager myself. This is how I started my career in mobile digital advertising. I also studied advertising, so I really love the topic and I'm passionate about it. Therefore, I really love to share my knowledge. And yeah, I like to party, and I'm really looking forward to the times when Corona is going to pass and we're finally going to be able to mingle all together. So yeah, if you feel like partying or knowing more, please hit me up on White Night Summer or just send me an email, whatever. Find me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to connect. And without any further ado, let's talk about the things on the agenda today. First, we're going to talk about the components of UA campaigns, how they intersect with each other, what do they mean for the platform, how you can work with those. After that, we're going to talk about the processes, or not even after that, like during this whole thing. We're going to talk about processes that's happening under the hood. And we will also cover the leverages with a little case study, just to show you a good example. And we'll leave some time for your questions, to which I will hopefully have the answers. All right. If you're a UA manager, uh, this is basically how the world, especially when you just start out, looks to you. You have your targeting options, you have your bid, you have your creative, you start a campaign, it all goes through the black box. You receive installs that later translate into your RAWs, but if something goes wrong, you just don't know. You just don't know what's going on. It's very confusing, and not a lot of people tell you how it works, or they just tell you a small portion of it, and it's hard to make a clear picture. So here I am to dismantle this, with a mission to dismantle the black box. And yeah, If you're going to have any questions later, please follow up in Q&A session. Let's start with targeting options. What do I mean by targeting options? It's quite basic. You have your geos, your OS versions, and the devices that you want to target. But what does it mean for the platform? How does your targeting options actually influence that? Here I have a few statements in terms of influence, like target, the influence on the platform the targeting options have is the amount of users that you can target. Or on media buying is the amount of impressions that are available, or the pricing, like what is the CPM for those things. This seems a bit pretty vague, and I want you to have a clear understanding of how it works. So I made a cool slide with cool animations that I hope you're gonna like. Let's start from the basics. Let's say that you want to create a campaign where you're gonna target just country US. So out of all the users that you can target on the platform, let's say it's Chartboost and we have access to 900 million of those per month, you're gonna target only the ones who are in the US. Okay, this limits the amount of users that you can target. Then you go with OS and you just want to target iOS and iOS 12 and above. So out of all the users who live in the US and have iOS phone, this is the amount of users that you're going to receive. So basically how it works, now you want to target iPhone 11, your targeting options is just a filter to the traffic and to the users that you're going to receive. So let's say that out of 900 million users, you're going to end up with 3, which is still good. Probably don't need that many users anyways. But what does it mean for the platform? Why was I talking about impressions and CPMs? Because eventually what you care about is the users. This is basic. But the world of digital advertising revolves around CPM and impressions and how it's all being charged and yeah, the whole shebang. So if we're gonna look at this funnel that I had in my previous slides, I'm gonna add one more thing. So this is the total amount of users that you can target, but this is the total amount of impressions that the network has. And this is the approximate CPM for all of them, all across the network. But if you're going to filter down, then you're going to have way less impressions and your CPM is going to increase as well. And the more filters you apply to it, the more effect it's going to have. So when you target users that have only iOS 12 and above that live in the US, your CPM is also increasing. And you see, like on average, you could have spent $2, but now with iPhone 11, you're going to spend $15 CPM on average. And it also not very stable there because different publishers charge different CPMs. So it might be important for you to know that it's just an example here, but I hope you get an idea of how it works. But yet again, because you only care about the users, you may say, I don't care about CPM. I only care about my CPI. What are you talking about here? Well, because as I told you, everything is intersects, it leads me to another thing, which is the bids. What is your campaign input? And how does bid influence the platform? Well, out of all the people that you can target, your bid actually defines how many people you can reach. And out of all the available impressions, it tells you how many of those you can afford, because now you know what is your eCPM. But there's a question, like, how do we translate your CPI into CPM or eCPM? It might be confusing, but please don't be frightened because we have a formula for this. So eCPM goes like this. It's bid multiplied by your IPM. I'm talking in riddles because you see, like, we started from a CPM and now we're leading to IPM. What is IPM exactly? And that leads us to another topic about the creatives. IPM stands for installs per thousand impressions and has a particular formula. But how do we calculate it when the network, when you have fresh creatives and, we don't have any impressions or anything? Well, I'm going to open you a secret. The network runs a little test. And within this test, it says, okay, this is a particular creative that works best, or this is the creatives that doesn't work best, and assigns a ECPM. I have a slide just to show it to you a bit more. Let's say that you have a campaign with $5 CPI, and your different creatives going to perform differently as well. So those creatives going to have different ECPM. And based on the fact how sophisticated the network is, usually when there's a programmatic solution, different creatives going to serve differently in different publishers because all the publishers have different IPM as well. But in general, you get an idea that the higher your IPM, the better it's for the network and for you, because you get to participate in more auctions. Now, since we talked about the creatives and targeting options and bids, we sort of dismantled the black box. We have an idea of how it all works and how it intersects. If you're going to take a look at this table, when it comes to the influence of the platform, we're going from top to down. We see that you have the users that you can target. Those users generate a certain amount of impressions, and those impressions can convert into the installs, the thing that you came for. When it comes to media buying, there is also an amount of impressions that are available, the ones that you can afford. But out of those that you can afford, it's actually only that many that you can win, and that has been served. And it all leads to the main factor, which is pricing. So because we need to translate your CPI, your bid, into a CPM, we need to work with IPM. And then we also need to find the publishers in which we can make it work better. So altogether, it's a complex mechanism, but that has really understandable rules. Now, since you know those, I think it's going to be important. What are the leverages that you have that can help you to influence those campaigns and to influence all of those parameters and campaign inputs? The first leverage is to start campaign with a bit higher comparing to your target one. What does it give to you? Well, first of all, it helps you to participate in more auctions because the networks use such metric as predicted CPM. What is predicted CPM? Let's say that we have never targeted a specific publisher and we don't know how it works. And we don't know what is the IPM there, but we still need to come up with an auction to an auction with a certain price to bid. So by collecting the data, we can presume that your ECPM or predicted ECPM is going to be this and that. Oh, I'm so sorry. Apologies. And your predicted ECPM is going to be higher if your bid is going to be higher. So what it does to you in the future, you can eventually decrease your bid a little bit and participate in the auction and pay what you actually want to. But how the system will see your predicted ECPM is going to be higher comparing to your actual ECPM. Therefore, you will get exposure to more publishers and probably even have a chance to win more auctions. So it's sort of a UA 101, but probably now you know why it matters, and especially knowing how it all intersects with each other, you know how to influence it better. The second option is to rotate your creatives every now and then. Creatives are very important for the network, as you have seen. We really rely on the conversion or IPM in order to define what is your CPM will be. But creatives have this horrible tendency to fatigue. So in order to change that, you need to upload those creatives as often as possible. And also a very good tip that not a lot of people know. I've been talking about CPM a lot and how higher CPM is more important. But actually, the higher conversion is sometimes even more important than high CPM, just because it yields more conversions. Your offer or your app becomes a constant moneymaker and therefore more interesting for the publisher. So they can neglect the higher CPM that somebody who drives less installs give to them just because they won't be there forever. And your good creative can actually allow you to win more and have a better position in the waterfall for this publisher. And the third most important one is to use multipliers to enhance the performance. What do I mean by multipliers? I'm going to cover it a bit thoroughly. It's different campaign features, especially namely bid by pub. So how does it work on the network side? Let's say that you have 5 publishers out of 100 out of the campaign that you see the performance is really good. It still works on eCPM basis. You participate with your predicted eCPM. Everything goes smoothly, but then you want to increase the bid for those specific publishers. So how the network translates it into their means is you have to have a multiplier to your predicted CPM. And every time there's going to be an auction for a specific placement in the publisher that you chose, you're going to have a multiplier that enhances your predicted CPM and therefore helps you to win the auction. As I told you, I have a little case study. It's one of the advertisers that works with us, a puzzle game developer in Europe. So they were using a FlexBid tool. A FlexBid tool, for those who don't know, is an in-house tool that allows you to adjust your campaign bid on a granular level using different dimensions such as device, OS, rewarded placement, number of impressions served, and language of the device. Very interesting thing. If you have more questions about that, please reach out. So in order to test out this product, they had a strategy. They were running a campaign. This is, you can see it on your screen, how it looks from the dashboard on Chartboost. They had 10 geos that they were running into one campaigns. They were focusing on publishers, the ones who are performing good and the ones who are performing badly. And they also were trying out different dimensions that we were providing. Just to give you an idea of how it all worked, here's the example of 3 publishers that were driving the most installs. The first table that you see is the campaign results for the first 2 weeks when they were running just with a regular CPI. So you see that they collected quite a bit of data. They knew their IPM, they knew the CPM, they knew the ROAS, and they were asking us like, hey, what is the best approach? How we should work with that? And we just said, try to use multipliers that directly affects your ROAS. And this is what they did. in order to improve the performance. Just 2 more weeks later, they received, they changed the bids for those specific publishers. They received way more many installs and way more impressions as well. But if you look at the campaign performance overall, just also because they were using different dimensions, not only bid by pub, but also bid by device and bid by geo, they managed to increase their installs by 46% and their ROAS by 20. And overall, they managed a way to even it out. So what we believe in is that there are no bad users. There's just the right price for every user. And yes, that was definitely a success. So we also have another prominent player with whom we did a case study that you can check out on Chartboost blogs. They also tried FlexBit, but unfortunately, since we named them, it's Tactile, our favorite partners. They were really pleased with that. And as you can see here, we even have a lovely quote that says, FlexBit makes us feel more confident about the bids that we are setting, as it allows a higher granularity and thus more precise bids. So overall, they increased their spend by 70%, but there was also a reason behind it because the rest of the metrics grew. They were one of the advertisers who were practically invested into the knowledge about the network and how it works. And they were always on the call, always asking us how it works, what are the influence that we can have. And that was sort of an inspiration for this talk as well, because those guys definitely know what they're doing, and they know how it works on the platform side and what are the leverages that they had. And the leverages that we discussed during this talk has been applied that helped them to grow immensely. And as you can see, they had a number of challenges that they have resolved with the solution that we had. Oops. Now I just want to sum it up of what we talked a bit here. I hope I dismantled the black box at least a little bit. There's always a leverage that you can apply to your campaign, and those leverages can be granular, and because the network treats your campaign and your campaign inputs as an intersect, as a specific bundle that helps it to participate in the auctions and to serve and win more impressions for you, and therefore installs. You should have a very dedicated account manager, probably, that can help you out with that. And also the knowledge that you received during this talk, I hope it will be useful for you. And yes, if you're gonna have any further questions, or maybe some parts were not really that clear for you, please reach out to me. You can see the email here. And as I also mentioned earlier, we have a Chartboost blog, the one where we share the knowledge with the advertisers. And we have quite a few articles where we go in depth about how you should work with the creatives more and how you can influence things with the FlexBit tool. And thank you so much for participating and joining this morning. And now I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Thanks a lot, Artemiy. This was a great talk and very good guide for guys on the developer side, how to work with their bids and CPMs. with Chartboost or any other partner, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So thank you so much for bringing it up. Just because all the networks design the same, everything that I said here is applicable to everyone. Maybe not particularly about the FlexBit tool, but all the other major networks, they work exactly the same.
That's great. And thank you for this universal guide. If you mind, I have one question to you. So we were talking about creatives, and what's your recommendation on uploading them? How often you should do that? Because I've heard opinions of people, mostly from the agency side, saying that you should upload as many creatives for your campaign as possible, like dozens a week, and other guys, mostly from the developer side, they say that doing like 3 or 5 creatives for 2 weeks is enough before they're burning out. What's your personal thoughts about that?
It's a great question. And actually, luckily enough, I have enough expertise because I used to work for a developer and now work on the network side. So I know how it works better. The ultimate approach is actually lays in A/B testing. You can trust into the creative engine of the network and to add up thousands of creatives or however much it allows you to. But usually it's better to run an A/B test because the network has to define what is your predicted CPM. It will run a test for you, and with less creatives, it will find the best performing one easier. Because what happens when you add a lot of creatives at once, the test sort of disperses around all of the creatives, and you cannot find the true leader. But if you're going to run a creative test first, and then run and run a few of those and find the best performing creatives, put them into one campaign that is responsive, that is designed for the performance, the one where you're supposed to find the good quality users, the best performing publishers, you're going to have a set of strong creatives that gonna altogether increase your average predicted eCPM for a campaign and therefore win more auctions. It's better to go that way, but if you don't really have time for a creative test, just try to run with 3-4 tops. And when you see that the network has defined the leader, try to remove the old ones and add up new ones.
Thank you very much. Great recommendations. So guys, please first do the testing. We have some comments on lectures chat saying thank you to you, Artemiy, for the great talk, and thanks come from me as well. Thanks for coming to our virtual studio located in San Francisco for White Night Summer. This was a great one. And guys, if you have any questions on working with ad networks, please feel free to reach out to Artemiy on his email or on WN Hub directly. As we see, he has also great expertise working on the developer side, not on the ad network side.
Thank you so much for the kind words, and thank you so much for having me. It was a very interesting experience.
Great. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Take care and have a nice day.